So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our self-scout plan. It's been important. I'm not coaching right now. I moved up into the central office and doing those kind of things, but I don't love talking to you guys always about offense or defense or specific X and O stuff because we're not coaching. That can be a little cumbersome. But we talked a lot about tips to help you win football games. We talk a lot about situational football. Got a book out about that. Our podcast right now is all about tips to win football games. One of those tips is talking about how to self-scout. So we're going to talk about today our self-scouting plan that we used over the years. Maybe you can help somebody out. Maybe they can get an idea or two from it and, go from there. So for us, for self-scouting, which I thought was more important than opponent scouting, honestly, the more we talk about offense right now, the more that we dealt with our offense, the more I realized we weren't going to see the same thing we thought we were going to see on Friday night. So we started just practicing for everything. We definitely did some opponent scouting, but we actually put more emphasis than probably most people did on self-scouting. So the first step for the self-scouting plan we were going to do was chart efficiency. So if we were going to chart efficiency, we want to know what's the play efficient. So here's what this means, Alex. And I would make a column in Huddle or whatever you use, and we would just say, was the play efficient, yes or no? Just give it a yes or a no, or a 1 or a 0, however you want to quantify that. And so instead of looking at yards per play, we just charted efficiency. I just wanted to know, was it a good play, yes or no? And you say, well, what's the difference? Well, if you gain, if you got a play that you call on 3rd and 1 a lot and it gets 2 yards, that's a good play. But it may look bad on the yards per play. If you got a play that you call only in 3rd and extra long, you get one every now and then. Say you hit one for 30 yards, and then the next 3 go for nothing, and one goes for 12 yards, but it was 3rd and 14. All those are bad plays except the one. So if you ran 5 of those plays and only one was good, that's 20% efficient. Whereas if you go off of yards per play, that play might be getting 10, 11 yards of play. So I didn't really ever look at yards per play. We just looked at efficiency. I wanted to know every play in the game. So usually in a high school game, 150, 160 plays. I wanted to know all 150 plays, did we win or lose that play? So then we came up with a system for how we decided if we won or lost a play. So on offense, if they got 4 more yards on 1st, 2nd down, that was a plus. That was a yes. If we converted on 3rd down. So if it's 3rd and 9 and we get 7, that's a no. If we fumble at any point, we could gain 25 yards, but if we fumble, that's a no. You throw an interception, that's a no. But on 1st, 2nd down, 4 more yards, yes. On 3rd and 4th down, if we converted, yes. Anything else was no. And what you're looking at there to chart efficiency is if you can get in about 60% in any one play or formation or whatever, and I'll show you some examples in a minute, that's pretty good. Defensively, literally did the opposite. So was it less than 4 yards on 1st, 2nd down? Did we stop them on 3rd down or 4th down? So if it's 3rd and 11 and they gain 10, that's a good play for us. If it's 3rd and 2, they gain 3, it's a bad play. So it was way more based on results than that. So in special teams, a little more difficult. Special teams, a little more quantifiable, I guess. You kind of come up with your own thing, and it may be different based on who you are, what type of team you are, what type of school you are. But we came up with a thing that was a yes or no. So for kickoffs, where it would be for kick return, you see it on there for punt. It was at a 35-yard net. For those of you that don't understand net punt, I'm sure you do if you're watching this, but we're talking about where they got the ball from where you kicked it to them, not how far you kicked it. So punt return the same. And we kept track of these things, who won punts, who won kickoffs, who won extra points, and then we had that yes, no column for every play. So basically it started with that. We played a game on Friday. We're making a column. We're putting in, did we win the play? Yes or no. And now our version of saying, did we win the play was the play efficient. So this is what one would look like for formation. Our formation were colors, no big deal. You can see though, this formation brown, 66% efficient. So, you could kind of see this was bunch for us. So you could say, was the bunch better or worse than the regular formation? And it was about the same as far as efficiency, 63%, 66%. The better efficiency play was this red, which was a tight end set. And you can see it's 76% efficient. But look at the yards per play, only 5.3 yards per play. That means we usually call this on the goal line in the red zone, maybe in short yardage. So that would that would distort the yards per play But when we called that formation 76% of the time, it was a win for us. That's pretty good to know. So we started with this. Now, when you get into plays, these were our plays. You're looking at, like I said, over 60% is really good. So we had a good football team this year, this last year I coached, but 73%, 74% here efficient. Now these are sweeps, jet sweep, buck sweep, whatever. This is a keep pass. Look at it 50-50. So you may think, man, keep pass 50-50. You said below 60 was bad. Well, not necessarily. Below 60 is probably bad for a running play. But yeah, remember, if it's a pass play, that's a keep pass throwing a post wheel, deep shot. If you're hitting half of them, those half are really explosive. So we're going to get to that in a second. So maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing. You just know 50% of the time we called this play, it was a yes for us. And, 50% it was a no. And you can see we got a few sacks mixed in there too, because we got some minus yards. If you looked at play group, like our inside run, our buck sweep, like buck sweep was 77% efficient that year. It's unbelievable. Keep pass 53%. So you take all those little variations and put them together to make the play group. So that was the explosive. I'm sorry, that was the efficiency. The next thing we charge is explosive plays, because it also is important. You can't just go off efficiency. I think efficiency is really important. I think efficiency is something that every coach should understand. What plays, what formations are the most efficient, not necessarily what gain the most yards per play or yards overall. But I think you do have to factor in the explosives, because if a play has a high explosive percentage and a low efficiency, it's still a good play. If it is bad at both, it needs to go. So an explosive play for us, people can argue with this, and you get a lot of different things. And if anybody likes this system, but they want to change these numbers, have at it. I mean, this is how I quantified it. So a 12-yard gain was I didn't go off 12 for run, 16 for pass. So I don't understand all that. We gained 12 yards or we didn't, or it was a touchdown. So if it was any touchdown, even a 1-yard touchdown, a 90-yard touchdown, or anything that gained 12 or more yards was explosive. And then, of course, the opposite was true on defense. Or, we charted the same thing, but we wanted that number lower, right? So we charted our opponent's 12-yard gains, our opponent's touchdowns, and we wanted that number low. And then we came up with a number for special teams that would allow us to see when did we start inside the 20. So that's even better than a touchback. When from we're kicking off, when we're doing kick return, when do we start on the 50 or better? When do we get a really long punt or a really good return? And we could kind of quantify how often that happened. This is what that would look like. And you notice now, Alex, most of these say no on the top, because, if you're getting a play that's over 0.5% explosive, you probably don't need to be on here listening to us. You're probably doing pretty good. So these are all going to be a lot of no's. It was not explosive. But what percent is explosive? So if you look at, your formations here, and you look at that red formation that we just talked about that was really good for efficiency, it's kind of bad for explosive. We're only getting 3 out of 34 plays went for 12 yards or a touchdown. So that's a formation for us that's very important. Looks like it's working a lot, but it's not necessarily getting the ball in the end zone or making the big plays. Where if you look right here, 35% of these bunch plays, we talked about bunch being about the same in efficiency. Now bunch is 35% versus 29%. That's a pretty good jump. So bunch, while may not necessarily get us 4 yards more than the regular formation, putting the receivers in the bunch trips versus regular trips did create more explosive plays for this particular year. And that's important to know going into your next game. So if you look at plays, you can kind of see the same thing. This keep pass play is the best one. So what was the worst efficient play is the best explosive play. Now, these were the top of all of ours. So any of them that are down at the bottom below this, they probably got thrown out. These are all plays we wanted to keep. We just wanted to know what the percentage was of when it was explosive and when it was not. So if you look at a play, let's say go by play group, and you look at a play like jet sweep, 20% of the time was explosive. It's really good. 20% is really good. But the read stuff, which this would be like power read, plays like that, was hitting that 30-something% explosive. It was really good for that year. Whereas our inside run, as you'd expect, inside run would be pretty efficient, but not overly explosive, 19% of the plays. And so we may have thought we were a buck sweep team. We thought we were buck sweep. That's what we ran back then, and out of the gun, and that was us. Well, if you look right here, Buck sweep's only explosive, meaning it gets a touchdown or a big play 20% of the time versus 19% for your inside run stuff. That's about the same. So maybe when we're looking at it, we're thinking we're getting all these great plays off of buck sweep, but the reality is more of the percentage of the plays are coming off of this read stuff. Our quarterback's good at running the power read, counter read, plays like that. And that's where a lot of the more explosive plays were coming from. So all that takes no time. That may have sounded like a lot, but you could do all 150 plays and just mark them if they're efficient or not efficient, explosive or not explosive. I mean, you could probably do that in 30 total minutes. If you're not, you're overanalyzing it. It's pretty easy to determine. So then you take all those bad plays. So we did that. Now we're going to take all the no's, okay? So stay with me. You had all those yeses and all those no's for efficiency. We're going to take all those no's and we're going to just cut up those. We want to look at just those because truthfully, you know, you only got so much time on the weekend. There's only so many things. You got to opponent scout. You got to do all the other stuff. So, you know, we were going to pretty much just focus on those no's. I'm not going to say we didn't watch it again if it was a yes, but, you know, if we gained 12 yards, got a first down, moved on, that's one we'll look at later for teaching tape or something. But we got this weekend to get better. We're going to focus on the plays that were no. So in the plays that were no, they usually fit into one of three categories. And I would maybe make another column and I would type in why it was a no. Why was this play bad? Why was this play not efficient? Why did we not get 4 yards? Or why did it not get the first down? Usually they fall in three categories. I guess there could be a fourth one, but you don't see it often. Someone got beat that's fixable. This would be like, you know, your lineman needs to step differently, maybe our hand placement, you know, maybe we dropped the football, maybe missed a wide open read, you know, something fairly simple, bad route, something we can fix. All those things get in that category. What caused the play to be bad? Something that we can fix. That's the good ones. That's the ones you want to fix. That's what you say, okay, well, that's what a coach can do. The next column be something that, you know, somebody got beaten, it's not fixable. So this defensive end's going to Georgia and he just one-on-one beat our tackle. I don't know that there's anything. I mean, we could tell him if he stepped different, it was going to make a difference, but it probably wasn't. Then there's a bad play call. You know, we ran it. We had 3 guys out there to block. We had 4 defenders and, you know, just a bad play call. So we wanted to be honest with ourselves and really analyze the plays and put them in those 3 categories. So we're going to take all the plays that somebody got beat, there was nothing we could do about it. Put them off to the side. Take all the plays that were bad play calls and learn from them as a coach, but put them off to the side and be stuck with that group that says somebody got beat, fixable. Like this is fixable. So if you play, let's just talk about offense, Alex. If you got 60 plays of offense in a game, okay? Let's say that it's a pretty good game and 40 of those were efficient. So you're down to 20 plays, maybe 20 to 25 plays that were inefficient. Of those 20 plays, 5 of them they just had a really good player that made a really nice play. It was nothing you did wrong. And maybe you made 3 bad calls that you just say, you know what, that's not any kid's fault. That's the offensive coordinator's fault. That's 8 plays. So now you're down to 12 plays that were inefficient that we needed players to fix. Okay. And that's when we got into grading. See, I don't personally love the whole, you know, the right guard 72%, the left guard 61%. You know, that seems like a bunch of junk, especially considering that based on what plays you called, their percentage goes up and down. So, you know, I think you got to come up with attainable and measurable things. And we gave some basic rules for our players, some kind of golden rules that they could understand, that we held them accountable for that and not necessarily grading. So the percent we gave them might be, if you're a running back, what percent of the time did you carry out a good fake? And if you ever didn't carry out a good fake, you owed us 5 push-ups or something. So we could give them a number there. You know, you faked 10 times, you had 8 good fakes. That's 80%. I don't believe in giving them just a grade of 80% for the game. That seems something that kind of sounds good, but it's not measurable and attainable. So instead, we take those no's, take all those no plays, and we're going to attach them to people, right? So we're going to grade the players by picking a few things they must do, like if you're a running back, carrying out your fakes, Then we're going to tag that running back on 2 or 3 really good plays. I want to see 2 or 3 things this guy did great so we can show him and all the other running backs how it's supposed to be done. And then we're going to take the bad plays, that group of now 12 plays we got left that we just got to fix before the next game. And we're going to move 1 or 2 of those into whichever ones pertain to that running back onto his individual film. And then we're going to send him that film to watch him. If ideally, we'll watch it with him. So if possible, you sit down with the players, watch the plays you tag, keep it to a moderate number, but we did the same thing for special teams too. But I felt like that was the most efficient and effective way to watch some film, to grade, and to get it down to the plays that really matter. And I don't know how they did it where you were, Alex, but for us, we do this film, back in the day where we come in on maybe Sunday or Monday or sometime and watch film with the players, and you let the linebacker coach go watch film with the linebackers. You say, all right, you got 45 minutes or something like that. And you go about 40 minutes and you tell him, hey, 5 more minutes, we're going to go to practice. And he's on like play 6, because he's just gone off on these rants about stuff. And, you never got to the plays we needed them to actually see. And so this is how we grade it, or how we watch film with players. We're going to take those no's and focus on those no plays. And of course, then pick out some. We did want to tag a couple of things positive about every player and show those as well. So this is what we offer, Park Resources. If anybody's interested, we got podcasts talking about 10 tips to win games. One of them is chart efficiency. If you want to hear me go off for 30 or 40 minutes on that same topic, feel free to do so at Park Resource Podcast. We've got several books. Most recently, book has been on situational football, where we got 100 football situations I came up with, Alex, where, just I'll show a little bit of it here if anybody's interested, but basically took all the situations you can see in a game, offense, defense, and each special team, and came up with the key situations, and then tried to put in some facts with it. So we went and studied the last 75 games that I coached in anyway, and these were the percentage of these things. So this is third and extra long offense. Give an example of it. You're looking at 4% of the plays were this category, 22% of all third downs. But you think about it, it's only 2 plays per game, 2.5 plays per game, and not even 1 full play per game per hash. And then people come out there with these massive play sheets in high school ball with all these different plays they're going to call from each hash. In third and extra long, you're going to get 1 at best. So, we try to have 2 plays per game, and this kind of tells you how we came up with that. 6 plays total, 2 per hash, and they got recycled. And then for the season, you might want 24 different plays, 8 each hash. But truthfully, I would consider that not that too many, because I would add formations, shifts, motions, and things like that to the same plays, which would probably make it 8 different plays per hash, but maybe it's only 3 or 4 different plays, but run a couple different ways. So, and then things to consider. So I took each one of these 100 situations and listed out 4 or 5 things to consider. I didn't tell people how to do it or what to do. It was just ask yourself this. So if you're in third and extra long, ask yourself, are you going for it or playing safe? You basically got those 2 choices. We're going to go screen or draw or something here and punt if it doesn't work, or are we going to hang in there and throw for the first down? You need to know about your opponent. Are they going to bring everybody, or are they going to go with the big blitz? They're going to bring 6, make it hard to maybe hang in the pocket and get this first down. If they are, the screen might be better. If they're not, if they're a team that drops 8 a lot or drops 7, maybe you got a minute to sit on there and wait for the guy to cross the middle of the field and get open, or wait for the long comeback, or whatever it is. Are you ready? Can you blitz pick up? And then understanding the concept, like in third and extra long, just understanding the concept. Plan A is always to convert, but plan B is to punt. So throw an incompletion or whatever. Plan C is to sack and then punt, because that loses yards. And then the worst thing that happens is a turnover, and the quarterback needs to understand that. Understanding high school ball or isolated options or isolated matchups your best option. Sometimes when you get 11 or more yards, you just got to get it to the good player. And then you need to know if you're going for it on 4th down, because in 4th down, if it's 3rd and 11, but you're going for it on 4th down, you don't have to call that play like 3rd and 11. You can call it like 2nd and 11 and try to get some different yards so you can put yourself in a different 3rd down case. And then talked a little bit about how to practice each situation, how we would scout that situation, and how do we know our plan's working. Like in this case, getting 25, talking about efficiency, bring it full circle. How do I know this is an efficient play when it's 3rd and 11? Well, if you're getting 25% of your 3rd and 11 pluses, that's really not bad. So that's about the mark of, is it a good or bad plan? If we're under that, maybe not. If we're over it, that's a really good plan. So I took that, Alex, did it for all 100 formations, and I think that's, you know, I hope it will be helpful. People got some pretty good response on that so far. I hope it helps people. These are the type of things that I do. I don't play golf, I don't fish, I don't hunt. I'm not really good at any of those things. So in my free time, I try to find ways to actively help coaches. And that's why I bring up these two subjects today, situational football and efficiency and self-scouting, because I feel like those are things that people can still find relevant regardless if the offense changes over time or the defense changes over time. Yeah, it was interesting to me. The third and fourth downs, a couple things come up in mind. The third and fourth down percentages were so different than maybe college or NFL studies. You know, because high school ball is just different. People go for it more. Um, they don't have as good of punters usually. And so it was interesting to see those numbers, but probably for a specific situation, you know, just the people like the things like punting out the end zone and punting in the end zone and when to fake. Free kicks, you know, how to down a punt. These are all things that you see once every few years. Somebody gets the free kick, you know, where they punt it and they fair catch it. And, if you fair catch it, you can run your kickoff team out there and kick it through the uprights. You get 3 points. You say, well, when would one want to do that? Well, maybe the end of half. I guess it could be in the game. It's usually end of half. Teams punting out of their end zone. They punt it. You fair catch. You got to fair catch it. You can't let it roll. You can't return it. You fair catch it. Say you fair catch it on the plus 40. You know, there's 3 seconds left in the half. You run your kickoff team out there on the kickoff tee, kick it through the uprights, you get 3 points. That's always a neat one to study. People like hearing about that. And then looking at realistically when people can hit a knee. You know, what is really successful for 2-minute offense, 4-minute. I'll be honest with you, Alex, I'll probably be a better coach if I was coaching right now because of doing this, because even though I felt like I was a decent situational coach, having to really sit down and come up with 5 things to consider for all these formations, or I mean, all these different situations, made me think, you know, what is the difference between 2-minute offense and 1-minute offense? And the real difference for in the high school world is you get the ball with 1 minute. You know, if Tom Brady gets the ball with 1 minute left, he's probably going to score. If the high school team gets the ball with 1 minute left, it's going to be tough. You know, there's a big difference in that. And so just trying to make it realistic to the high school game was a challenge and something that was interesting that I think people could hopefully get something out of. But all the little special teams, little quirks of things people do to save the game on side, kicking when you're late, kicking late in the game when you're ahead, kicking late in the game when you're behind. These are all things we tried to harp on. And I even put the last few things, how to handle weather delays, how to handle, you know, a big early lead. Maybe you're in a huge game, you're playing for the region championship, and you get up 21-0 in the first quarter. You think that'd be a blessing, but it actually, you're prepared to play all 4 quarters, and it kind of changes the outcome. It changes how the game's being played. You got to be ready to adapt right then. And the opposite. You know, you pumped up all week for this game, you get down 14 points real quick. How you going to handle? So I tried to handle as many. There's only 3 of those. 97 of them are more statistic based. But, you know, when should somebody surprise onside kick? You know, when should you maybe use sky or squib kicks on kickoffs? And how do you defend those? How are you ready for them on kick return? Those are all things I thought were probably the most interesting. Yeah. Yeah, they can go to parkerresource.org right here on the screen. You know, we got podcasts, books, documents, whatever. But I just like to, you know, it's been a great hobby for me to stay involved. And anybody's got any questions about any of that stuff can reach out to me. They can message me on social media or email or whatever, and I'll help them any way I can. So appreciate what all you guys do, Alex. Do a good job, man. Appreciate you.